We're back again with another Feeding Otters video. I know it's been a long time, sorry. Hey, we got crap going on. But anyways, we're gonna make today some fresh pasta, the long-awaited pasta video. We've tried it a couple times, failed. Not with the pasta, just with the video part. So today we're gonna make a fresh pasta, probably a linguine with a caper, white wine, lemon, crushed red pepper sauce. Should be lovely. But here we go. It's a pretty simple recipe. Takes a little bit of time just because you got to let the dough rest and everything, but otherwise it's not difficult to make pasta. But the taste of fresh pasta is exquisite. It's a completely different experience from eating a dried pasta, which is good also. But the fresh pasta has a more silky, kind of luxurious texture to it, and it cooks in about 45-60 seconds. So here we go. Now I know there's a million different ways that people make pasta, and I know you're probably thinking, if you're Italian right now, this is not how my nonna does it, right? So all I use is flour and eggs, and that's it. So here we go. 2 ingredients, flour. Try and keep this from going all over the place. I got 3 cups of all-purpose flour. And again, I know there are people who use semolina, they use 00. If you like doing it that way, you do it that way. This is how I like to do it, nice and simple. So I got 3 cups of flour. Here's where the wild card comes in. You know, if you were a real professional and you did this like in a restaurant or whatever, you'd probably use weight and measure the weight and make sure that you had everything just right. But as you know, not every egg is the same size, which means you're gonna get a different amount of fat and liquid in here based on the size of your eggs. So with these eggs here that we get, I'm gonna use 4 eggs for 3 cups of flour, and I'm just gonna toss the whole thing right in the food processor. There we go. Boom. Put the lid on this guy, and then I'm gonna pulse it. Now it's not gonna come all together in the food processor. We're just gonna combine the egg and the flour a little bit, and it's gonna be very crumbly. And that's all you gotta do. Now, we take it out of the food processor, and I put it out here on the counter. And you're probably thinking that doesn't look anything like pasta. And you'd be right, because it's not pasta. From here, we take it like this, and you're just gonna have to kind of get a feel for it and see if it's gonna come together the way you want it to come together, and if it's got the right amount of egg in it. And from here, I think this feels pretty decent. You just keep working it until you get that dough to the right texture. And this part can take a while, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. If at this point, well, not yet at this point. At this point, it's not all gonna combine. But if after you're working it for a couple minutes, you can't get that dough to come together, then maybe you need to add another egg to give it some more moisture, but this one's gonna come together just fine. Keep working it. You're gonna pick up all of this flour on the counter as we go. And if you've never taken a ceramics class, or if you've ever taken a ceramics class, you know when you get that clay out, first thing you gotta do is you gotta wedge your clay, right? To get all of those bubbles out of there, get the air bubbles out. You're gonna do the same thing here. Not necessarily to get the air bubbles out, but the purpose of that is to kind of work those glutens in the flour, and that's what gives you a nice, stringy, stretchy pasta dough. If while you're doing this, your dough sticks to the counter, just throw a little bit more flour on there. So we're gonna keep doing this for quite a while, for probably, like I said, 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes. And you'll know you're done when the texture is gonna change, because you've worked those glutens in, got it nice and stretchy, and that dough is gonna start springing back on you to where you like this, and it's gonna spring back. Right now it doesn't. That means we're not done yet. It's gonna change, kind of change color a little bit, and it definitely changes texture. And once we're done kneading like this, then we're gonna wrap it up in a plastic wrap, and we're gonna set it in the corner on the counter in the kitchen to rest for at least an hour. If you skip the kneading process and then you go to roll out your dough in your pasta roller, it's all gonna separate on you. It's gonna be a big mess. Same thing with that resting period. If you don't let the pasta dough rest long enough, you're gonna be in big trouble when you start to roll it out. And it's gonna separate, it's not gonna roll out nicely. And you're not gonna get a very nice texture in your pasta when you're eating it either. All right, this dough is changing. You can see a little bit, it's nice. It's a little bit dry. I probably could have added a little bit more egg, but it's gonna work just fine. When you're doing this, you kind of stand it up tall, push it down that way, and then roll it up on the side again. Stand it up tall, push it down, just like wedging clay. All right. I'm sure someone's Nona makes it like this. Maybe not yours, but trust me, it's gonna be delicious. All right, so we got this rolled up into a nice little ball here. It's not perfect. There's still some folds in it, but once that's kind of part of what resting it does, is it lets all that kind of coalesce into one nice pasta ball. We're gonna wrap this guy up and let it sit. And then what I like to do when that dough is resting, that's when I kind of, when I take care of whatever kind of sauce I'm gonna make. While this pasta is resting for at least an hour, we can make our sauce. And again, this sauce that we're doing today is a really easy one. Not a whole lot of prep that needs to be done. And so I'm gonna go take a nap. Peace. Okay, so here we are. We've let our dough rest for about an hour, hour and a half. We're gonna take it out of this here plastic wrap. See, it's kind of changed color a little bit. It's nice, soft, springy. Just the way it ought to be. We're gonna save that plastic because what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut this guy into quarters. Half, half again. All right, and we're gonna wrap those other three back up in here because it dries out quickly. There we go. Set it aside, and then we'll kind of flatten this thing out a little bit here. So here's the KitchenAid pasta roller attachment. We're gonna turn it kind of pretty low in the beginning here, just to get us started. And we do it on the very first setting, number 1. I'll turn it up a little bit higher here. And as you can see, it's not very beautiful yet. What we'll do is we'll fold it up like that, and we'll run it through again. Turn it up one more here. There we go. All right, it's getting good. Keep going. I'll probably do it maybe 4 or 5 times on the first setting. And then we'll do it on number 2. A couple times on each one. It's not necessary to have this KitchenAid attachment. They make the hand crank ones. If you have the hand crank, then you probably need 2 people. One to crank it and one to feed it through. So this works pretty darn spiffy like. How thin you want to go depends on kind of what kind of pasta you're making or how thin or thick you like your pasta. I want it pretty thin. So we're on number 3 here. So each time we run it through, it's going to get a little bit longer, a little bit thinner. No real rules on how often you want to do it or how many times you want to run it through. There we go. Notice I have the countertop floured up nicely so nothing sticks. All right, now we're on number 4. Gonna get a little bit thinner here. I'm probably gonna stop at number 5. That's about how I like it. We're gonna make fettuccine today. Beautiful. And number 5, this will be our last one here. There, isn't that beautiful? Nice thin pasta, isn't that easy? They always say that the best Italian food is all about simplicity. No, we're gonna leave it on number 5. It's all about simplicity. So we have 2 ingredients so far, that's it. Ah, I really botched that up. Shifted a little bit. So we got our dough a little wrinkly, but we're just gonna run it through again, and it should be a-okay. Try and feed it through evenly as it's going so you don't do what I did there, but it doesn't hurt anything. Okay, so we have 1 sheet of pasta rolled out here. And I won't put you through watching all 4 sheets, but I'm gonna repeat that again here another 3 times, and then we'll cut it up. Okay, so our pasta's rolled out. We got 4 sheets of pasta. Now next up, we have to cut it into like a normal pasta noodle length here. So roughly about 12 inches, right? 12 inches, and we'll do it again. Here, there. These guys are a little short, but it'll be okay. All right, and so we put on here our fettuccine attachment. It's gonna cut us some beautiful fettuccine noodles. Notice I have some extra flour here because after we roll these guys out, you'll also notice in the background we have our pasta water going already. And look at, almost like magic. Here's our noodles. A lot of people, when they're doing this, they have issues with it clumping, so it's important that you do this step here. And you get the flour all throughout so they don't stick together. Because if they stick together here, they're gonna stick together in the pasta water, and then they're gonna stick together on your plate, and they're gonna stick together in your mouth, and it's gonna be terrible. Well, I should mention, I learned this process from my brother Kevin. He and his family went to Italy and did a little cooking class and learned how to make pasta and came home and changed my life. So I follow his recipe, his methods, more or less. All right. Okay, so all of our pasta is cut into fettuccine noodles. What I like to do is make sure, like I said, you got a bunch of flour in there, and then just toss it a little bit so that you can make sure that all of the noodles are separated and nothing is stuck together. And it looks like we're in good shape. Our water should be boiling. So we'll go take a look at that now. And make sure you salt your water and then you taste it. Because remember, 2 ingredients, right? Eggs and flour. There's no salt, no olive oil, no nothing in here. So the only flavoring you're gonna get, the only salt you're gonna get on these noodles is when it cooks in the water. So you want your water to taste like the sea, like the ocean. All right, without the fish. No fish taste, just salt. All right, so here's our pasta. It's still nice and not stuck together. We're gonna throw it all in our nicely salted water right here. And again, remember this is gonna cook in about a minute. So again, once it gets in, take your little pasta dealio here and just make sure that it's not stuck together and boil away. And now this guy should be hot. We're going to take about maybe 1/4 cup half a cup of olive oil, like that. And I got about 4 cloves of garlic, kind of heavy on the garlic. And a nice wooden spoon here. Get that sauteed in a little bit. I know what you're thinking, that oil wasn't hot enough, and you'd be right. But it's gonna be okay. I have here the zest of 2 lemons. And we're gonna chop it up because I don't like big strings of lemon zest in my food. So, nice little pieces. Lemon zest is a nice way to get lemon flavor without getting all the sour in it. So here we go. Zest from 2 lemons. Cheer that around a bit. Sauteing up right purty. And I got some capers here. This is about 4 or 5 tablespoons capers. If you don't know capers, capers has a nice briny, salty, citrusy kind of flavor. Kind of watch your garlic here as you're cooking, because what you don't want to happen is burn that garlic and make it all nasty and bitter. And I've got some crushed red pepper, so I'm going to put in about a tablespoon crushed red pepper. That's going to give it a nice color in our pasta, as well as some heat that we like to see. And then we're going to take our pasta that Abby is so graciously stirring for us here. So you can see it's been in there for maybe a minute, minute and a half. It's so silky and delicious. Don't worry about getting the pasta water in there. That's just fine. In fact, you want the pasta water in there. That helps to kind of bind that sauce together nicely. Get it all out. And if I was smart, I would have done this a long time ago. I'm not that smart. There we go. All right, now we go back in to this pasta water here. We're gonna take about a cup and add it to our pasta. And then we're gonna combine all that real nice. Lots of garlic, lots of salt, lots of bright citrus flavors in there. As this goes a little bit, it's gonna kind of reduce that pasta water and thicken up nice. And then we're gonna take about a handful of this Parmesan cheese, maybe a little bit more in there. And that pasta water is gonna combine with that Parmesan cheese. I didn't salt much because remember we salted the pasta water pretty good. Parmesan is salty, the capers are salty. So, all right, that's it there. And then the last step, I got a bunch of fresh basil. I wanted parsley, but for some reason there was no fresh parsley in the store today. So we got fresh basil, which will be lovely. All right, that pasta is done. Okay, so here's our big pan full of fresh pasta, capers, lemon, garlic, basil, and then we're gonna take that and we're gonna add just a little bit more fresh parm over the top. All right, I got my bowl here. Oh, look at that. Steam coming up off it. There we go. Make sure I get plenty of capers in there. And just for good measure, I'm gonna have a little bit more on there. All right, I got my trusty dingle hopper here. I got a bowl of fresh pasta. My life is about to get just a little bit better. Ready, set, go. That's good. It's so simple. It's such a velvety texture on the fresh noodles. Ooh, a little bit of heat in there from the crushed red pepper, the briny capers, the fresh basil, and nothing like it in the world. This is delicious. I'm gonna eat this whole bowl, and then I'm gonna feed the rest of the family. Thanks for watching Feeding Otters. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Bye.